Yo, what's up? All right, we're live. Double fries, no slaw on signing day, early signing day. A couple of minutes late, man. I'm setting this up and running it myself. I've got a lot of thoughts, and I want to get to comments. I want to get to people that have something to say, and I probably won't be able to go through as many comments as I'd like. So, I mean, if it's something that you really feel like needs to be said, like this is not me trying to get a super chat out of you because I honestly do, but like you just have to super chat it for me to see it, and I'll try and go through those at some point. But hey, I have a lot of complaints. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about as issues, and I don't think that they are things that you are super going to be super surprised by. I don't think anything's like, oh wow, TJ brought this up. Like I can't believe that this is happening. But I do think that there are things that need to be by somebody who, has a platform, and I don't really know why I have this platform, but they need to be said at like a bigger level than just like fans crying on Twitter. And so like I don't know, maybe it's just my turn to rant about things. We'll see, but I do want to get to those things. I know you guys don't want to hear this. But I do want to be positive for just a minute because I do think this is important. And again, I know that this is not why you tuned in. And so stick around with me for like 2 minutes while I do this. I think what sucks the most about a day like today is that there are a lot of kids like Cam Davis and Luke Kromenhoek and Charles Lester. And, even though he pisses everybody off and trolls too much, I think there's a lot of kids today who made really strong decisions for the Noles and who are going to make big impacts for this roster and this program. And their shine gets taken away because of issues and deficiencies, because as humans, we're negative in nature, and that's what we focus on. And I mean, that's what I'm going to focus on tonight. We have every single commit that's in this class. We did a pre-record video on it and told you about it. And if we didn't do a pre-record video on it, we talked about it in a recruiting video that talked about all of them. So we have given those recruits their shine. I just hate that today that is, completely taken away from them. And, I'm doing the same thing. So, maybe it's my fault too. But what's frustrating as well is signing with Florida State. I mean, I am very much appreciative of that, and I am very much appreciative of what every kid who signed with Florida State today did, but that should be the expectation. That should be what you do when you're committed to a program. And so, to me, that's the bare minimum. I appreciate kids like Luke. I appreciate kids like Loane McCoy, who I think's recruitment was shaky. I appreciate kids like Elijah Moore, who I think is going to be a phenomenal wide receiver. Camden Fryer, BJ Gibson. I love a lot of the commits. Jonathan Daniels, Jaden Todd. I think there's some really good talent here. Charles Lester, Jamari Howard, Kai Bates, Ricky Knight. I still think Florida State has one of the best secondary classes in the country. Obviously, I think it could have been one of the best ever had you landed KJ. I like a lot of the pieces on this commit list. However, this video tonight is not going to be me hyping up the commits that did sign with Florida State. We've hyped all of the commits who signed up with Florida State for months and months and months and told you how good they are. And so if that's what you're looking for, you can find that on the page. That's just not what I want to do tonight. It just isn't, when the playoff snub happened, I wasn't on here hyping how great the 13 wins were, right? Same thing. I appreciate the 13 wins. I appreciate the kids who committed, but I hyped each one of those 13 wins the day after each win. So if you want to see me hype those wins after the playoff snub, then go back and watch those. If you want to see me hype the kids who signed, search their name on our channel, and I hyped them for at least 10 minutes of video, right? So that's probably the extent of my positivity for what it's worth. I think that overall this class is it's obviously Norvell's best class. That's not even comparable. It's close. And I will be very fair here and say I think you did an excellent job at quarterback. I think you did an excellent job at running back. I think you did an excellent job at tight end. I think you did a very good job at wide receiver. Now, obviously, if you'd gotten Jeremiah Smith, I probably would have moved that up to excellent, but I give you like a B+ at wide receiver, A- somewhere in there. I think you had a really good wide receiver haul. I think you did really, really good at offensive line. I like the pickups at offensive line. I think you did very, very good in the secondary. Again, I'd say B+, A- because probably B+, A- is fair. It'd have been an A++ if you got KJ, like one of the best classes ever. And then you got the nation's #1 kicker. I think most position groups on signing day, kids that signed with the Noles, were really, really good. I have a massive issue with our D-line class and our linebacker class. I also have a massive issue with how we closed on elite superstar talent. Florida went 5-7, and they signed 2 consensus 5-stars. Now, I understand Luke is right outside of 5-star status. I understand Cam was a 5-star at one time. I understand Lester was a 5-star at one time. I understand Landon Thomas was a 5-star at one time. But Florida went 5-7. And signed 2 consensus 5-stars. That's not where they were 5-stars on one page, or maybe not the 5-stars everywhere. Miami has signed multiple 5-stars. They took one away from you, and they went 7-5. Mario has a 500 record at Miami. Billy Napier has an 11-14 record at Miami. And you're going to out-recruit Florida. You're going to have a better class than them in the rankings. But it's frustrating to see that. Now, again, positivity, think the class is good in a lot of spots. Offensively, I really have no complaints anywhere offensively. I'd love to add another offensive lineman just to kind of throw numbers at that. I don't really know what the board looked like. And obviously, like Jeremiah Smith, the best player in the country, didn't go your way. Tip your cap. Pray that he goes to Ohio State, not Miami, right? Defensively, I think the secondary was really good. And outside of that, not great. You got a couple of guys on the defensive line that might be able to be developed. I think D.D. Holmes has a shot. I think Denaz White has a shot. I saw the super chat up there. I'll give some love here to Hunter. The liquor is flowing tonight. Denaz for Heisman. I appreciate the love. I don't have it in me to play a sound tonight, but I do appreciate the love, Hunter. But Denaz White is not coming in for you right now and starting like L.J. McCray would have, right? Like, and neither is D.D. Holmes, and neither is Tamir Hickman-Collins. Like, the linebacker pickup, none of that's good enough, right? And those guys are fine to be in the class, but like they're not coming in and making a difference in year 1, maybe year 2. So yeah, defensive line recruiting, linebacker recruiting. This is where we'll maybe start to be a little negative. And I don't know. I've talked with some people about like how to say some of this stuff. And you know, at the end of the day, like I'm just gonna be honest. It is what it is, right? Like I'm not credentialed. I've been credentialed and don't want to be again because you have to follow their BS policies, and you can't say certain things. You can't be honest with people when you want to, and so I'd rather just not do that. So if you're not subscribed, hit that button for me. But yeah, it's frustrating that Florida State continues to see the results at certain positions recruiting, and Mike Norvell doesn't make changes, right? And so I think Odell Higgins is an absolute legend. I think he is great. I think Randy Shannon and Coach Papuchis do a phenomenal job of developing guys. I don't know if anyone in the country would have developed DJ Lundy, Tatum Bethune, and Kalen DeLoach the way that Randy Shannon did. I think he did a phenomenal job developing there. I think Coach Papuchis has done a phenomenal job with Pat Payton, Jared Verse, Jermaine Johnson, Kier Thomas. The list goes on. Development has been good. I think that what Odell has done with Fabian Lovett, Joshua Farmer, and others is really impressive. However, those guys are not pulling their weight recruiting wise. And that just is what it is. Like, I don't know how else to say that. I'm not trying to be mean by that. I'm not saying that those guys need to be fired immediately. I'm not saying any of that. But look at the recruiting results year over year, every year. Randy Shannon was supposed to be the link that got you Armando Blunt. He had a chance to redeem himself. And that kid, 5-star, flips back to Miami today. If we brought a defensive end. We convinced a defensive end to come in and reclassify early and come and visit. And he didn't sign in Amari Williams. We couldn't get LJ McCray. We got a couple of 3-stars on the defensive line. I'm very thankful that we got Flagg and White. I don't know that is cutting it at Florida State. When Florida State was dominating, they were recruiting the defensive line incredibly well. Do you remember who we stole DeMarcus Walker from? DeMarcus Walker flipped to Florida State after being committed to Alabama. It's just not good enough. And my thought on it is this, and I've spoken with probably 5 people about this who are close to the program in different ways, right? Like, I'll leave it at that. Like, have different levels of access to the program. And I think that Mike Norvell values at this point, or has valued, right? Like, I don't want to speak for what he'll do going forward, but how many times is it going to happen before you just kind of like say that's the MO? I think Mike Norvell values developers over stone cold killer recruiters. I think Mario Cristobal is the opposite. I think Mario Cristobal values stone cold recruiters over developers and good coaches. I think that's who Mario Cristobal is, and I think that's who Mike Norvell is. I think Mike Norvell is a developer of talent and an excellent X's and O's coach. And I think he's an okay to good recruiter. I don't think he's a stone cold killer when it comes to recruiting. And so because that's what Mike's personality is, that's who I think he values when he makes staff hires. It would make sense. Your staff is going to take on the personality of the head coach. And so what priorities does he have when assembling a staff? He assembles developers. And I think that's what he has done. I think Randy's done a phenomenal job developing guys. I think JP and Odell have done phenomenal jobs developing guys. Atkins is an exception. Atkins does a great job both developing and landing talent, I think. I think Ron Dugans does a good job of doing both. But it's obviously not working. Like, the proof of concept was there, right? You won 19 games in a row, and you still couldn't land elite defensive linemen. This is not a shot at Hickman Collins, but you couldn't even land like more than one linebacker in this class. You weren't even close. There weren't even guys like taking visits. We weren't. It wasn't like we had like 7 linebackers in and we just whiffed on them. Who was here? Who was here to add to that room? You knew the entire year, and really you knew before that, right? When Kalen and Tatum came back last year in December, you knew that you were not going to have those guys in 2024, right? They were going to be out of eligibility. There was no chance they were coming back again. And we have 1 linebacker in this class, and Lundy's in the portal? That's not good. That's not good enough. That's not good enough at Florida State. So somebody just asked a question. Harlan, what was that super chat? Because I think it kind of continues on this thought. Don't play a noise. I can't take it tonight. So how does Coach Mike Norvell fix the problem on the coaching staff? Where does he poach? Who does he poach, and from where? That's, and I appreciate Nathaniel. I think the question's phenomenal, and it leads right into what I want to talk about. Is it a problem? Now, you and I think it's a problem. But is it a problem? Mike Norvell wants developers and not elite recruiters. Or, so I'll change that and phrase it a little differently. Mike Norvell seems to value good developers over good recruiters. Like that, just at least at those positions, right? Would we all agree with that? Do you think I'm wrong there? I'm okay with people thinking I'm wrong. I don't think I'm right on everything. This is me trying to make sense of what I think is an insane situation. And so if Mike Norvell wants developers over recruiters, then what's the problem? There is no problem to Mike Norvell. Right? I mean, is that fair? Now, there's a problem to me and you because we're looking at us whiffing on everybody. And we're looking at the fact that quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, cornerback, safety, kicker, punter can all recruit really well, but for some reason we can't do it at the other positions. And it's not a one-year thing. All right? I'm not on a tirade right now. I'm not frustrated right now because it's a one-year thing. It is year after year after year. Look back at it. This year, LJ and Blunt. Last year was Keldrick Falk. You lose him on signing day. Year before that, you lose Marvin Jones Jr. and Tyree West. Last year, you also lost Ruben Bain and Wesley Besaint to Miami. It is year after year after year. Defensive line recruiting just not good enough. Linebacker, I don't think we're whiffing on guys at linebacker. We're just not even getting any in. Again, how many linebackers visited Florida State this year? Somebody go pull up the visit lists. We didn't have elite linebackers on campus this year. So, I mean, I guess the good news is we didn't really whiff there. But I think Coach Shannon slow plays those recruitments. I have not confirmed this, but the Georgia kid that committed to Kentucky told that he was told to visit after the dead period. I haven't confirmed that, so don't run with it everywhere. But it'll be everywhere anyway. It doesn't really matter. But if that's the case, you lost out on him from slow playing it. So, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know that Mike Norvell sees it as a problem. Now, you would hope that he does. It's been 3 years of this. I kind of discount everything that happened in the 2020 cycle. I don't really care about that. Had been on campus for 2-3 weeks. That doesn't matter to me. But I don't know that Mike thinks it's a problem. I would hope he does. But I think that's what he values. I think he values developers more. I don't know that I could share absolutely everything, but I've been told stories of coaches that haven't contacted kids for weeks upon end. I have been told stories of coaches who, down the stretch of a recruitment, didn't talk to a player for weeks, days, weeks at times. I've heard of defensive line targets that coaches on the staff haven't talked with. I don't know. There is. Listen, if you guys don't like it, you don't have to stay in the chat. If you don't like the whining, you don't have to be here. So, yeah, I think I don't know. I think changes need to be made. I think it'd be tough. I think it'd be tough to look at you. What do we do at linebacker? Like, who are the starting linebackers next year? Is it Omar Graham, Justin Cryer, and Blake Nicholson? Like, is that what we do? Are we going 3 redshirt freshmen? I'm sorry, Grant. So Graham wouldn't be no redshirt freshman. It's hard, man. It's hard to see what the plan is there. I think the defensive line, if you can hold on to Peyton and Farmer, which who knows at this point, I think the defensive line will be fine this year. If you have Farmer, Jackson, Peyton, Gilbert Edmond, Marvin Jones Jr., Byron Charles, I think you've got some good pieces there. I don't know what you do after that. Hold on, let me mute this call. I think the linebacker recruiting and defensive line recruiting have just not been good enough. And I don't necessarily know that you need to make 3 changes in the offseason. But I don't know. If you want to land elite talent, I think you do. The people in the comments are funny that are like, why don't you coach and recruit and see how you do? I don't know, man. I don't get paid millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars to land elite kids. I get paid pennies from YouTube to rant about it. It's not my job to land elite kids. I didn't sign up for this. You guys comfortable with where our linebacker room is for next year? If you guys are comfortable with it, then yeah, tell me I'm an idiot and tell me to shut up. But you gotta keep it. You gotta change course. You gotta get better somehow. lack of effort, lack of contact, lack of awareness, is all of that plagues this staff at times. As far as the big fish, it is now 3 years in a row that that's a great comment, George. We're not putting it on the screen, but you went 13-0 and somehow couldn't land like good linebackers or defensive linemen. Highly rated, right? Highly rated guys. That's insane. And I am so tired of seeing this bull crap about playing in the ACC. And if we played in another conference, we sure didn't bother Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal figured out a way to sell this shitty ass conference. Mario Cristobal didn't struggle to defend the ACC. Mario Cristobal went 7-5 and found a way to sell it. So don't tell me it's about being in the ACC. I'm so sick of that. Does this conference suck? Absolutely. Do we need to get out of it? Absolutely. Have I done 15 videos on conference realignment trying to beg Florida State to get the heck out of here? Absolutely. But don't come at me with that bull crap about the ACC being why we struggle to close today. That's asinine. Shoot, one of our 5 stars flipped to the ACC. And it looks like the other one might as well. Jeremiah Smith. We'll see what Miami does there. The big fish. Speaking of Smith, speaking of KJ, speaking of Blunt, speaking of LJ. 3 weeks ago, I would have never foreseen, honestly, just 2 days ago, I would have never foreseen a situation where Florida State would go 0-4 there. That's the frustrating part. That's one of the frustrating parts is you had 2 of these kids committed. And you lost them. I won't even talk about Jeremiah Smith and LJ McCray. Like, I'll give you a pass on those. Those kids were committed elsewhere. And you couldn't overcome what other teams had. Now, if Jeremiah Smith goes to Miami, we're going to have a different conversation. LJ McCray stuck with Florida. I tried to tell you guys the whole way up to today that LJ McCray wasn't happening. Every report that I came out with was that we weren't getting LJ. So if you thought that was going to happen, then you might have got that from somebody else. But the 2 kids you did have, Armando Blunt and KJ Bolden, are it just adds to what we've seen over and over and over again. It was Travis Hunter. It was Marvin Jones Jr. It was Tyree West flipping. It was Devon Mortimer flipping in 2021. Last year, it was Keldrick Falk flipping. You knew that was happening. Every year, there's an excuse, right? Oh, well, Travis Hunter just wanted to go do something special with Deion. And then Keldrick Falk, he just wanted to be closer to home. Hugh Freeze was in position for like days, and you lost to Keldrick Falk. When you have a relationship with a kid for months and months and months, and a new coach can come in and in days beat you out, that's a problem. And then this year, it happens again. Your very best defensive player, your top 2 defensive players, flip away. One to your biggest rival, and one to somebody that you've gone head-to-head with for recruits. We have flexed on Georgia for Landon Thomas. We flexed on Georgia for Luke Kromenhoek shutting them down. We flexed on Georgia for Cam Davis being from that area. But when it was all said and done, they came back and they got you back. And it's a problem when you lose recruits. When you lose your best recruit defensively 3 years in a row, and just the way that they're rated, like I know Hakeem was rated higher than Keldrick Falk last year, but who had a bigger impact on the field this year? Not even close. And I like Hakeem a lot. I think he's going to be a superstar. I also think he has an incredibly good head on his shoulders, and I think he's a phenomenal kid. So this isn't a shot at him. Hakeem was ranked higher. Keldrick Falk went in there and made an impact year 1 at a position we desperately need and still need because can't land LJ, couldn't land Blunt, couldn't land Besainth, couldn't land Ruben Bain, couldn't land MJJ the first time, couldn't land West. It's 3 years in a row that you've lost your top defensive recruit. That is a massive problem. Like, that cannot continue. I don't know how else to say that. Florida went 5-7, and every coach in the country was calling DJ Lagway. Every coach in the country. USC called him minutes before he finally signed. Southern Cal. A&M was on him. Clemson was on him. So many schools going after him. Florida held on. LJ McCray. Florida went 5-7, and they figured out a way to hold on to LJ McCray. LJ McCray called Florida State. LJ McCray called Auburn. And guess what? Florida at 5-7 held on to their guy. Miami was Flip City this year. Flipped a defensive lineman from us. Flipped a defensive lineman from Ohio State. Flipped a running back from Ohio State last night, and is trying to work on flipping the number one player in the country. It's hard to see that year after year after year and not be frustrated by it. Florida State is not Maryland. Florida State is, who might get seen today. Florida State is not Kentucky. Florida State is not Missouri. Florida State is not South Carolina or NC State or North Carolina or, any of these pissant schools. Florida State's a top 15 brand in the country. And we can't hold on to our top defensive recruit 3 years in a row. And I'm talking Travis Hunter, as much as you guys hate him and pray on his downfall and everything else, would have been a day one guy at Florida State. Keldrick Falk would have seen serious reps at Florida State last year. And KJ Bolden would have seen absolute serious reps for Florida State this year too. You're not just losing okay guys. You're losing program changers. KJ Bolden is a program changer. I'm not as upset about the Blunt thing. I honestly don't think he makes a massive impact for Miami this year. I think he develops into a nice player if he doesn't end up in the portal, which that very well could happen. But, yeah, I think you've missed out on 3 program changers 3 years in a row. And probably more when you think about, Ruben Bain and other guys. I think Ruben Bain, ACC Rookie of the Year, right? He's a great player. Something that frustrates me is that when Saban goes 13-0 or 12-1, he still fixes things, right? Saban can go 13, and I understand. I'm not comparing anyone else to Saban. But there are principles that Saban has that I think all coaches should learn from. And when Saban can go 13-0 or 12-1, and he immediately tinkers, and he immediately starts to twist, and he immediately starts to fix, and he immediately starts to adapt. Saban did not want to run the RPO. He absolutely did not want to run that crap. Remember who we won championships with? A.J. McCandoff and, jackass Greg McElroy and stuff. Saban didn't want to run the RPO. But guess what? He adjusted. He fixed things. He tinkered. If a coach isn't cutting it, he cuts him out. Now, Saban hires from such a position of power. I'm not expecting Norvell or anyone else in the country to be able to hire like Saban does. But I'll tell you something. The thing I respect the most about Saban is he's not happy. At 14-0, they win a national championship, not happy. We need to adjust. We need to fix things. We need to alter things. And that is what I'd like to see Mike do. You went 13-0, great. I'm proud of you for that. Won 19 games in a row, incredible. I love that. I got no complaints with I got very few complaints with what Mike does on the field. But you still have to try and get better. Complacency is absolutely what will sink any program. Thinking that you're good enough, right? You guys are all in the comments. Hey, calm down, TJ. We went 13-0. I don't give a crap about that. That 13-0, you sound like a Miami fan. I understand it just happened, but that 13-0 does absolutely jack crap for us next year. It does nothing for us next year. That crap is over. 13-0 was amazing. I had a great time this year. I think I went to 7 games. We threw 6 tailgates. We got to meet a ton of you. It was phenomenal. This has been a great year. I appreciate what we've done since we started 3-10 at this program. But guess what? None of that's doing anything for you going forward. Complacency and not being willing to improve. You guys know, it's cliche. You're either growing or you're dying. Can you say that Florida State's coaching staff is growing right now? Can you say that we're getting better right now? You're either getting better or worse. Nothing stays the same in life. Do you think we're getting better? Oh, TJ, we just won 19 games in a row. Don't talk bad about it. Okay, that's great. I love those 19 wins. I'm telling you, I love it. You think we're getting better, though? Saban's gone 14-1 a couple of times. You don't think he tinkers with staff? You don't think if he thinks he's got an improvement that can be made, he doesn't do it? And we're frustrated right now, not because this is a new problem. This is a problem that we have been harping on for a long time. And to be very fair, I'm not the only one. The people who get paid a lot of money to cover this program, like Bud Elliott says all the same things. Bud Elliott might have been the first person to say, like, yeah, this Randy Shannon thing ain't going to work. Zach does a better job, I think, than just about anybody in this space covering it. And I think he does a great job kind of laying the facts out. It's just not good enough. Now, you know what I do think it's good enough for? I think it's good enough to continue to beat Florida. I think it is good enough to probably, I don't think you're so far now that I think it's good enough to continue to beat Miami. I think it's good enough to continue to compete for and probably win the ACC. I think it's good enough right now to continue to compete for the 12-team playoff. I'll say that. I believe all that. I think you can continue. I think the talent on the roster right now is good enough to do all of those things. Compete for and win the ACC, beat your in-state rivals, and make the 12-team playoff. The talent on this roster ain't good enough to beat Georgia, though. I'm telling you. Talent on this roster is not good enough to consistently beat Alabama. It's not good enough to be consistently in that top 3 all the time. Why? Because we don't recruit like them. That's pretty simple. You can look at the way that we recruited this year and say that's an improvement, and you can also say that's not good enough to compete for championships. Bobby Bowden was not winning championships with top 10 classes. I don't know why that's so controversial. Am I probably a little bit more upset than most people? Am I probably a little bit more flamboyant with it? Are most of the comments just people that want to be contrarians? Yes, to all of that. But Jimbo Fisher wasn't winning championships with top 11, 12, 13 classes. He just wasn't. How many times did Jimbo land the number 1 class, number 2 class, number 3 class? I know, you hate him. I'm not supposed to bring up his name. I get it. But Bobby wasn't winning without elite recruits. You guys hate the idea that 5 stars, 5 stars don't matter, blah, blah, blah. Bobby was getting 5 stars. They mattered to Bobby. The patron saint of football in the state of Florida. You think Bobby was... Listen, there's some revisionist history that goes on at times. Bobby, give it time, brother. It's been 4 years. We won 19 games. If you can't recruit at a top 5 level when you win 19 games in a row, that's a problem. You think Bobby was out there saying, I just want me some 3 stars that work hard and have 5-star hearts? You think that's what Bobby was looking for? The hidden gems? No. Bobby wanted the absolute badasses that would go and kill you. You think Peter Boulware was a nice guy with a 5-star heart? You think Marvin Jones was a nice guy with a 5-star heart? No. Bobby Bowden went out there and landed killers. 5-star killers. Go look at his recruiting classes. They were insane. I think Peter Warwick was just a nice guy with a 5-star heart. People say, oh, give me the guys that want to be Seminoles. Yeah, I need some coaches that can convince these 5-star killers to go be Seminoles. Because 7-5, sorry-ass Mario Cristobal's figuring out a way to do it. 5-7, Billy Napier can't coach his way out of a wet paper sack, is figuring out a way to get a couple of 5 stars. I think a lot of things are fair and true at the same time. This is a great question. Michael Hall, I'll answer that in a minute. Harlan, try to put a pin in that for a minute for me. But I'll just answer it now. What are the solutions? I think that, I guess here would be the question. What do you think is more likely, right? Do you think that it's more likely that we develop 3 stars into national championship level players? Or do you think it's more likely that we could develop 5 stars into national championship level players? I think that's a simple question. I think that's really simple. I think that it's a lot easier to develop 5 stars. Now, I think you can develop 3 stars into really good players. They've shown they've done a good job of that. Josh Farmer is a prime example. Some of their offensive linemen, prime examples. Jordan Travis was a 3-star, prime example. But can you do that at every single position on the field and then do it for their backups too? Because Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State's and Michigan's depth is 4 and 5 stars as well. Do you trust the staff to be able to have a 85% hit rate on guys like that? Especially in the trenches? I don't think so. There's a reason a team with a lower than 75% blue chip ratio has never won a national championship. Some 5 stars don't pan out. Dude, I'm so tired of that argument. You show how ignorant you are by saying that. Stupid. That's a stupid argument. More 5 stars go to the first round than any other position. More 4 stars go to the second and third round than any other thing. More 3 stars are day 4 picks. It just is what it is. Show that super chat real quick, Harlan. That got me all fired up. Thank God Mario can't coach, or else we would be in trouble. I mean, you're absolutely right by that. You are absolutely right by that. Jared, I appreciate the love. You're right. But eventually, I will tell you this. Eventually, the talent will outweigh the coaching. Like, Mario screwed Miami over this year with the knee, right? But if they had a better roster, they're not in a game with Georgia Tech. And so the coaching becomes less important, right? If they just had a quarterback that didn't turn the ball over 4 times. I love to hate on Mario. I don't think he's even a good person, right? But I don't think Van Dyke's 4 turnovers are on him. I think Van Dyke just stunk this year. And so, yeah, I mean, the knee is Mario's fault, but if they had a team that could hold on to the ball, the knee doesn't even matter. We're never even talking about it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a good thing right now. Now, I think this is also true, and I want to be very fair with this. Yeah, I'll talk about the snubbing in a minute, but I think that the things oftentimes are too black and white. And I think that's how some of the folks in here are taking, I'll get to that super chat in a minute, Harlan. I think some of the folks in here are taking what I said. Maybe they join late or whatever. I think it is reasonable and fair to try and look at both sides. And I can confidently say that Florida State did a good job, a very good to excellent job recruiting some positions this cycle. Like, I can confidently say that. Like, I have no problem being positive. I'm probably the most positive channel on the Noles because I am a homer. My coasters are Florida State. I'm wearing a Florida State shirt. I have Florida State stuff everywhere. Like, I'm not like some journalist or something. I think that we did a phenomenal job recruiting some positions. Quarterback is one of them. Running back is another one. Wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive back. I think that those things we did a great job of. But I don't think we did a good job on D-line. I don't think we've done a good job on D-line several years in a row. I don't think we did a very good job at linebacker. I don't think we've done a good job at linebacker several years in a row. Can those two things not exist at the same time? Like, can I not say those two things? I think the doom and gloom crowd hates hearing you say that you did well at anything. Don't hype me up. I'm in a bad mood. Don't preach positivity to me. I'm in a bad mood because of how signing day went down, which signing day was an objective failure. The class itself is not a failure, but the day was a failure. You went 0 for 3 on your major targets. That's terrible. One of them being your best commit who flipped. But the negative people don't want you to preach any positivity, and the positive people are saying, what are you complaining about? We won 19 games in a row. I'm not complaining about 19 wins in a row. We've done a recap video on every single win and every single loss, because we show up every week, that Florida State's had under the Mike Norvell tenure. But it's fair to call out inefficiencies. It's fair to say this needs to be improved or that needs to be improved. I don't see why everything is so black and white. Both things can be true at the same time. Florida State did a really good job at some things. They did a piss poor, terrible job at others. Florida State does not have the number 6 class anymore. I know that that's a convenient way to say that that today wasn't a failure. Again, I don't think the class is a failure. Even in my own words, you guys, some of you cannot understand, what I'm saying. Maybe I'm just a little too hot about this right now. But no, the class was not a failure. I think the class is really good. The day was a failure. Going 0 for 3 on your major targets is a failure. Jeremiah Smith is a failure. You didn't win that. You failed it. You lost. Loss, failure, same word. KJ Bolden, failure. That's their biggest failure to me. And then LJ McCray, failure. I think that's pretty fair. You went 0 for 3 on your major targets. Please stop being so negative. Please stop tuning in. I don't know what to say. Harlan ain't going to like that because we're going to lose viewers. But I just told you what Florida State did amazingly, and then if you call them out for anything, you're negative. No, when something's wrong, we need to call it out. I do a ref video every week. If the refs don't suck, we don't do a video. If the refs do suck, we do a video. If the coaches need to improve at things that they've struggled at for years and years and years, we're going to call it out. We're going to be fair, and we're going to be honest on it. See you, Ryan. Let's go through a couple super chats. I wish you could block people from YouTube, because I know that guy's still going to tune in and just not comment anymore, so I don't know that he's in there. Robert, preach it, Pastor Pinger. FSU really needs to step their game up. I agree completely. At certain positions, I think they do really, really well at certain positions. I know that's not what you want to hear right now if you're in the negative crowd like me, but yeah, they do really well at some things. If Shannon needs to go, who replaces him? Okay, so first of all, let me answer this. If I could pick any one replacement for Randy Shannon, it would be Sims. And I hate the former player thing, but I think he's crushing it here. I think he's doing a great job. So it'd probably be Sims to me. I don't know. I don't get paid millions of dollars like Mike Norvell does to evaluate staffs and bring in talented recruiters. So I don't have a great answer for that. I really like Ernie Sims. And I think that could work well. I think he's already in the industry. He's already in the state. I like him a lot. So yeah, that's probably where I would go. Defensive coordinator, linebackers coach for USF right now, was at UCF prior. Yeah, I really like him. So, top 10 pick in the draft. I think the guy is so talented. It's not even funny. I'm sorry. At UCF now, was at USF backwards. So yeah, Ernie Sims would be my pick. I don't have anything else. I've been putting a linebacker hot board together. What else we got? $12 from Brad. Brad, thanks for the love. I appreciate you. A lot of people logged out when I told them to log out, Harlan. Maybe that was dumb by me, but at the end of the day, like if you don't have to agree on everything, but I think it's fair to be. I don't see us getting Nicholson, man. I think it's fair to call out what you see as an issue, and it's something that we've called out for years. It's something that I don't know if Mike Norvell just has no desire to change. I don't know if maybe he doesn't care. I said this in the Discord earlier, which if you're not part of the Discord, I'd love if you join that. If Mike Norvell doesn't make changes at the defensive line and linebackers, coach, then obviously he doesn't see it as a problem, right? Can we agree on that for the people that hate me in here tonight? Would you agree that if Mike Norvell does not make changes, you would agree that he doesn't see it as an issue? And then if we don't land blue chips consistently at those positions, then we need to stop getting upset about it completely. Like, to me, the proof is in the pudding. And if Mike Norvell doesn't care, then every time we miss out on a top linebacker or a top defensive lineman, we should stop complaining about it. Every time Armando Blunt flips, every time LJ McCray doesn't pick us, every time, again, Randy didn't even whiff on any linebackers. We didn't have any linebackers in this year. So I guess that's fine. But if that's the case, then we should never complain about missing another recruit there. Well, right? Is that fair? I think that's fair to say. But see, the way I grew up and the way that I was raised and the way that I watched Florida State is that you win these recruiting battles. So I know some of you might be newer fans. I know some of you may not remember who Bobby Bowden is. Maybe some of you never watched a Bobby Bowden coached game. Maybe some of you don't remember what signing day was like with Bobby Bowden, or maybe even Jimbo Fisher. But when I was growing up watching Bobby Bowden, we didn't miss. We won recruiting battles. We beat people in the trenches. We had the best linebackers. Our linebacker core, Derek Brooks is not even the best linebacker in Florida State history, and he won a freaking NFL defensive MVP. That's how good our linebackers were. Shade Tree to me is the best. I hope it gets better. I hope we improve on it. I hope that I am completely wrong. And I hope that Randy Shannon and our defensive line coach, I hope our linebacker and defensive line recruiting just absolutely stuns me for the next couple of years. We land more 5 stars than we can count. That's what I want. I would love to be wrong about this. I would love for you guys to clip this and share it all over social media and say that TJ is a dumbass. But are you confident that that happens? Like, are you confident that this is the year? We haven't done it for 4 years in a row, but this is the year that we just start landing 5 stars all over. I'd settle for 4 stars at linebacker and defensive line. I really would. I would. What was our last two? Y'all aren't going to like this. What was our last 4-star linebacker that committed to Florida State? Like, this is not good, like live, anything, but our last 4-star linebacker that committed to FSU, was Kalen a 4-star? I don't think so. So he would have been the class of, Blake was last year. You know who landed Blake? Derek Ray. So good call. How about the last 4-star linebacker that a linebackers coach landed? Good call on Nicholson because of the relationship with Derek Ray, which is a good pickup. Before that, none the year before that. Graham was a 3. Yeah, so go back a few years. So outside of the connection with Derek Ray's family and Nicholson's family, it's just not been good enough. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just not been good enough. And if people think it has, I don't know what to tell you. You didn't have one the year before. Again, I give you a pass for that year because of COVID and everything else like that. Didn't have one. Matthew Thomas? Like, I can't even think of like when the last one was. Steven Dix was a 3-star. When you go back to 2020, you go back to like 2017, maybe you had one there. So, I don't know. I think it's not been good enough. I hope that Florida State gets better with it. But I don't know. I don't know if they will. Again, if Mike doesn't make changes, then maybe he doesn't see it as a problem. Maybe I'm just crazy for thinking it's a problem. Leonard Warner. That's been a minute. What class was he in? Yeah, 17. Leonard Warner. So, in 17 would have been, oh, well, it's Cam Akers. So that would have been Jimbo's last class, right? So, yeah, tough one there. All right. People have talked a lot about the snub. Tommy, I don't know why you're such a dumbass. Like, I know you're not supposed to call people out directly, but I literally just said that Florida State did a phenomenal job recruiting quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, and secondary, and brought in the number one kicker in the country. The video is specifically about where we need to improve. I'm sorry you can't get that through your head, but like, Harlan, can you just mute that guy so I can stop ranting about it? Terrence Smith was a long time ago, Jeremy. Yes, I'll put a silver lining on it. I started this video by doing a 5-minute rant on how I thought the guys were incredible. I don't think the snub had as much to do with things. And I know that people disagree on that. And I know that that's a convenient narrative. And it sounds good. I don't believe that's the case at all. I don't think the snub had anything to do with it. And, you know, like, I don't think you were holding on. You weren't, I don't know. I don't think you were holding on to KJ. KJ said he's known for 3 weeks, literally before it happened. Do you believe the kid? You think he's lying? I mean, if you think he's lying, then I guess, you know, maybe the snub had something to do with it. I don't think Blunt had anything to do with the snub. He went to a team that went 7-5. You think a 13-0 team can't out-recruit snub or not? You think a 13-0 team can't out-recruit a 7-5 team? I don't think the snub had anything to do with Blunt. And then you look at Jeremiah Smith. Ohio State didn't make it. They lost a game. They were behind us. I don't think the snub had anything to do with it. I don't have confirmation. I haven't talked with these kids. I haven't checked in with them. But I think the snub is a convenient excuse. The snub is the excuse this year, but what was the excuse when you lost Travis Hunter? Okay, the snub was the excuse this year. What was the excuse when you lost Keldrick Falk? Okay, the snub was the excuse this year. What was the excuse when you lost Ruben Bain and Wesley Basaint and Marvin Jones Jr. the first time and everything else? Like, yeah, to me, the snub is nothing. We just can't close on our top-rated kids. We did a really good job everywhere else. Again, I don't know how many times I have to say it. Quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, offensive line, secondary, corner and safety, and kicker. I don't think the snub had anything to do with it. You can say that it did, but I don't know. We're ranked ahead of Georgia right now. Georgia got snubbed. You don't think Georgia's one of the best 4 teams in the country? I think Georgia's absolutely one of the best 4 teams in the country. Georgia got snubbed. You don't think Georgia's better than Washington right now? Like, they put Alabama in over Florida State. You don't think Georgia's better than Washington? Seriously. You don't think Georgia's better than Texas? I think Georgia's still better than Michigan. Did Georgia not get snubbed? I think that's a convenient excuse. I think that's a. Oh, the snub had something to do with it. No, man, you just can't close. You just can't close on your top targets. It's happened 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row, you haven't been able to close on your top targets. So last year, and there's an excuse every year. We don't want to blame anybody. We don't want anybody to take accountability for it. So we'll just blame the snub. We'll blame ESPN. All right, you guys will like this. Look at I'm actually not wearing a Florida State shirt. Look what came in. Look at this. The Herb Street clown shirt. A little bit of positivity. Thank Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't know. All right, I've ranted for 55 minutes, and here's what I want to say. I want to talk about NIL, and I want to talk about the Battle's End, because I've had so many people reach out to me about the Battle's End, and I know that you're frustrated right now, and I know that we preach the Battle's End, and what I am going to say may be popular, may not. I don't know. What I've said most of the night hasn't been popular, but I'd rather just tell you the truth or tell you what I think and not just sugarcoat things or say things you want to hear because I want you to like me more. I don't care if you like me. I'm going to tell you the way that McCray has already sent in his letters of intent. Peter, I've seen all your comments. Like, you've been wrong a lot, but that one's the most wrong. He literally has already signed. Florida's already announced it. I need to turn off. I need to look at not comments because I'll just keep commenting on them if I see them. So let's talk about the Battle's End. I have spoken with so many people today, and this is not an inducement to try and get anybody to sign up, but I do have information on what went down with Jeremiah Smith, what happened with KJ Bolden, where I think we were with LJ McCray, and I'm going to talk with our Patreons and our Discord members about that. I don't necessarily know that a public forum is the best place for me to do that. Maybe at some point down the road it will be, but I am going to talk with our Patreons and our Discord about that. And what I will share with everyone is the fact that I have seen so many people ask, well, where the hell is the Battle's End? Or why the hell did I donate to the Battle's End? Or why are we losing these guys? I said this last night too. Harlan brought it up to me. But there were people on Twitter saying, why did I even sign up for the Battle's End if they're not going to hold on to KJ Bolden? To which my response is, did you think that your 1993 that you've paid for 1 month was going to lock in a top 10 athlete in the country? If that's what your thought was, then your expectations may have been off just a little bit. The Battle's End got a massive influx of donors, monthly subscribers to donate to what they're going to do. However, it has been 1 month. Let's say the average donation it's not. Think about what level you signed up for if you did. It's not this, but let's say the average donation is $50. Okay? It's not. Most of you I know the numbers. Most of you signed up at the $20 level, $19.93 a month, the foot soldier level, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm not trying to get on people for doing that. But most of you signed up at that level. And that's great. I appreciate you for doing that. But it has been 1 month. And they've grown by about 3,000 members. So if we said everybody donated $50, which we didn't, it's less than that, and you times that by 3,000 members, that is $150,000. Obviously, there are fees. Credit card companies take some, but let's just round up. Let's keep it high at $150,000. That's the increase that we've seen, and that's how much the people that are wondering where's the Battle's End, the Battle's End is literally waiting for more money. You guys signed up on a monthly pledge. I think it's commendable. I personally give to the Battle's End, and I gave another one-time donation because I was so sick of how this all went down today. Not saying that you have to do that, but if you want to prove me wrong, go do it. But where's the Battle's End in all of this? It has been weeks since they got this influx. Did you think that the 3,000 members all donated like 20 grand each to where we were just flushed with so much cash that we'd never be able to lose another battle if we wanted to? The idea that the Battle's End somehow failed here because they just got all of their subscribers over the last couple of weeks is asinine. You understand, if everybody donated $100 a month, it has only been 1 month. That would be $300,000. And again, think about what you've donated. Did you donate 100? Did everyone that you told donate 100? And even if you did, which again, I know the numbers, they're much less than that. They're probably somewhere between 20 and 50, just to be real with you. Maybe 30, 40 is a good target for it. Is that enough? Honestly, that's why when they started taking donations around the springtime, we started begging people to sign up, to contribute, to be a member. They did a spring game tailgate where a meet and greet with every player on the team, Jared Verse, Jordan Travis, all of them, signing free. All you had to do was show up, and we begged people to sign up. And if we had that $150,000 for the last 8 months, what kind of difference could that have made? Probably a pretty big one. But the idea of where is the battle's end, because they just got a bunch of new $20 members over the last 3 weeks, guys, that's crazy. And I get it. I've got a lot of thoughts on NIL, and I think the battle's end does a phenomenal job, but to blame them for this, they weren't doing every single thing that they could to get this done, is silly. And the idea of I'm going to cancel my Battle's End membership because this happened is ludicrous. We just got an influx of 3,000 members. And guess what? In a year's time, 3,000 members, 12 months of that, all of that money rolling, that's a really good pot of money. But 3,000 members that we've had for 3 weeks, it's a subscription. You pay it monthly. That's how a pot gets built. The idea that 3,000 people joined and we would just never lose a recruiting battle again, ever, because you gave 1993 one time? What are we doing? It's like missing a cable payment and Spectrum going out and saying hey, my cable's out right now. I'm never paying it again. And that'll fix the problem. Dude, I hate Spectrum, by the way. I don't know if any of you guys work there or not. But the idea that we should stop supporting NIL. Florida State, it's so weird to me. When times are tough, it's honestly when you should give more. When times are easy, that's when you should take your foot off the gas. But when times are tough, that's when you should support more. When Florida State, this is not a brag on me, but when Florida State was winning 3 and 4 games, that's when we were encouraging people to sign up for the boosters. That's when we asked people, go sign up for the boosters. Because we knew that the only way that they were going to get better was when people signed up and supported, when people gave money to Florida State. Should you as a fan have to support? No, you shouldn't have to support NIL, and you're not required to. Should these TV companies and conferences and colleges and the NCAA, should they be sharing in the revenue with these players? Absolutely. Should the players be making the money from ESPN and the hundreds of millions of dollars that athletic departments make? Absolutely. But the NCAA is greedy, and they won't do that, and so NIL is what we're left with. Chip Kelly had a great rant on it this week. But the idea of, hey, I'm blaming the Battle's End for not getting these guys. Do you think the Battle's End wasn't trying? Let me just tell you, they were. You think the Battle's End was just sitting on stacks of your $20 bills? Or stacks of your 1993? You think they were just sitting on that, chilling out today? They weren't, I promise. And so the idea of, oh man, I signed up for $20 last month and they did not get me 3 5-stars, I'm out of here, is ludicrous to me. I would challenge you guys to support, and I know this is tough, but I don't care. I'd rather give you the truth and you hate me than lie to you and you like me. I just at the end of the day. I did a $100 donation to the Battle's End today. I'm not wealthy. I don't make a lot of money. I do this and get paid pennies by YouTube every month. But I was pissed off enough and didn't tell my wife and put $100 to the Battle's End today. Instead of canceling your membership, why don't you up it? Why don't you give a one-time? Why don't you be part of the solution? Because we're going to get there. I promise you. I'm frustrated. I hate the way this went down with the big stars. I think linebacker recruiting, D-line recruiting has to be better. I hate the way that things went down with the big recruitments, which were all for heavily NIL focused, and we struck out on all 4 of them. But it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't because they're mismanaging your funds. It wasn't because Ingram's sitting on a beach somewhere with your $20 bill ordering mojitos. Those guys are working their absolute tails off trying to get us to the place where we want to get. Nobody had a big problem with the Battle's End when they got Jordan Travis to come back, when they got Jared Verse to come back, when they got Keon Coleman in the portal, when they've picked up star after star after star. But you have a bad signing day now that they're visible, and nobody wants to blame the staff. Nobody wants to blame the relationships. KJ Bolden said that he knew for 3 weeks that he wasn't going to Florida State. Now, either the kid's a liar or our staff needs to read the room better. But if KJ says he knows for 3 weeks that he wasn't going to Florida State, you're blaming that on the Battle's End? I don't know, man. Jeremiah Smith seems like he still hasn't figured out what he's doing yet. I'm hoping that I don't get off here and see that he's gone down to South Florida. Harlan, any news on that? Or am I just going to... I don't want to joke about that on here. But any news on that? Nothing yet? I hope not. But blaming the Battle's End, I don't know. Just doesn't sit well with me. I don't know. Maybe some of you did blame the Battle's End, and hopefully my rant, my 10-minute rant on them, sticks a little bit. Hopefully it makes sense. You can be frustrated with the Battle's End. Listen, when you have a financial investment in something and it does poorly or produces poor results, you are supposed to be frustrated. Otherwise, what are you doing? But blaming them, I don't know. A little strong for me. A little strong. You might disagree. I think you're wrong if you disagree. But 3,000 people signing up at $20 a month was not going to change the fortune of any of these recruitments. I'll just tell you that, right? 60 grand wasn't going to do it. If 3,000 people signed up at $150 a month, then you're looking at $400,000, right? It just wasn't going to be what it is. So you can agree or not agree on that. I don't really care a ton, but I think blaming the Battle's End is just kind of crazy, right? Staff has proven over and over and over that they cannot close on top recruits on signing day, and all of a sudden this year it's the Battle's End's fault. It's Battle's End's fault against with Travis Hunter. Battle's End's fault with Marvin Jones Jr. the first time. Battle's End's fault with Wesley Basainth, Ruben Bain, Keldrick Falk. It's convenient to blame them this time. I get it. It is very, very convenient, especially when they were just very public about the numbers and the growth. And the automatic assumption is they just got 3,000 new members. We will never lose a recruiting battle again. We are in God's hands. Takes time. All right. So if you cancel today, get back in there and sign back up. All right. That's my challenge to you. I don't know, Harlan. Do we have any good comments or anything during that rant that I need to go back to? No super. All right, let's get Nathan some love. Nathan, I don't care. My wet dream is when the dust settles for FSU, we'll slap everybody's neck in games, wins a national championship, and gives fingers to all the haters, and turns into a monster in all aspects. Nathan, I think it said Nathaniel. Nathaniel, I think that's what we all want. I'll say this. We disagree. I argued with a lot of people tonight. I cussed people out tonight. I went off tonight and was super negative at times. I think I was super positive at times. I think I was very encouraging of the Battle's End at times. No matter what you think of me, what you think of my opinions, what you think about my takes, we all do want the same thing, right? Except for the Canes haters that are in here. You have to subscribe to comment, so I'm glad that they at least have to subscribe. But we all do want the same thing, right? We all want Florida State to be back. We may have different opinions on how we get there. We may have different ideas and thoughts on how that crap goes down and happens, but we all do want the same thing. And what I'd encourage you to do, if you disagree with me, start a YouTube. Start talking about it. Get your opinion out there. All opinions on this stuff matter. And I'm not paid to fix Florida State. I'm not paid to right the wrongs at FSU. But this is my take on it. This is the way that I kind of see it. I, for some strange reason, have some limited access into this program at times. I have some people that are pretty plugged in, that are plugged into our show and what we do. And I'm telling you what sometimes they can't say out loud. And if you don't like that, I'm okay with it. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like my takes. I really don't care. I'm going to keep making videos, and I'm going to keep giving my opinion, and I'm going to continue to be a booster, and I'm going to continue to give to the battle's end, and I'm going to continue to be a season ticket holder, and I'm going to continue to go on the road when this team travels and cheer them on, and I'm going to go to other events at Florida State, whether they're football or not. I'm going to continue to take my daughter to the women's college. I'm going to be a fan no matter what. So if you don't like me or you don't like the takes, I'm okay with that. I probably shouldn't go off on people on here, but, sometimes idiots just need to be called out. So, hey, I'm frustrated. You're frustrated too. I'm going to go deeper into some of the Jeremiah Smith stuff, what happened with Florida State there, what happened with KJ Bolden, what happened with all of that to our Discord and Patreon members. Listen, I don't really care. I don't want to say I don't care. I'm not trying to get you to go sign up for Patreon, but it's $3 a month. If you want to go join and get access to that, I'll probably drop that here in the next day or so. Yeah, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be Thursday. So I got a Christmas party with my kids tomorrow morning, so I can forget about this for a couple of hours, and then I'll drop some news on what happened with Jeremiah Smith and FSU and others. So go check that out. Link is in the description to the Patreon. Go sign up. Again, it's $3. All that said, we all want the same thing. We're all frustrated. We all take frustration out in different ways. And today, again, I don't think it was great, but you rebound. I talked to some people at Florida State. Today was a tough day. Today, people can say, oh, today wasn't that bad. Today was bad. And, but tomorrow's a new day. You signed some really good kids today. I think you'll be in a good spot tomorrow. You got to rebound. You got to keep going. Just like with the snub, you got to keep going. You got to keep coaching. You got to keep practicing. You got to keep trying to sign kids. You go from there. Somebody asked how you can join the Patreon. It's patreon.com/DFNS. Link is in the description. Patreon.com/DFNS. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening to me rant for like an hour and 15 minutes tonight. I don't know how to finish this. But yeah, today sucked. I'm going to wear FSU stuff to the kids' Christmas party tomorrow. It'll be all right, right? We'll be fine. We'll bounce back. Maybe you needed this. Maybe it was as cathartic for you as it was for me. Listen, I'll try and be in a better mood next time. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Go Noles.